Going back to the article you wrote, Gary, one of the things I liked in it was you talked about this spreadsheet, if you will, that tracked sort of assets that were backed up. And you had a methodology that you called out in the article in terms of how long you would wait before something had to be tested, or how the longest something could go without
Yeah.
being tested. And there were certain things that were critical in your environment that sort of had to be done more periodically.
Yeah, so what we did is we had a spreadsheet that listed all the backups anyway. And one of the things we tried to do was make sure that there was no clashing backups. So the Exchange server would get backed up at, say, 10 p.m., the file server would get backed up at 11 p.m., that kind of thing. Because otherwise, we found there was a lot of issues on the network and latency and all this kind of thing. So we wanted to stagger the backups as much as possible. But what we did was we actually added a column to that spreadsheet that said, restore last tested, documentation last updated, that kind of thing, so that we knew when the backups were tested and we knew when that documentation was last updated. And what we'd do is we'd actually have, there was a formula in it that would color the cells. And if it was all green, everything's fine. We'd done a recent test. I think recent was like 6 months, 12 months, something like that. And if anything was over outside of that window, it would go red. So I think the Exchange server was every 6 months. The Active Directory was once a year. The file server was, I think we restore a folder or a file every month, something like that. And we did this quite a lot. And we actually slowed down some of the tapes going off site for things like the file server. So we could do a backup, a couple of days later, you do a restore test, update the date in the documentation. We know that's good, send the tape off site. And that's actually, funny enough, that was a financial reason as well, because of the cost of sending the tapes off site. But yeah, we started to do that, and we started to get quite good at being able to do these restores. We were even able to get some additional hardware, and we even started to do some tests where we were restoring to virtual machines, because doing that process, we found we could get them up and running a lot quicker. We had a bit more room to breathe, and we could have a much better virtual environment. And then we even got into some other really clever stuff where we had a physical domain controller and a virtual domain controller, and we tested failover and all this. We got really advanced.